Thank you. We are going to transition right now to a lightning round breakout session where everyone will be asked to answer a very short question in a small group format. Our tech host, Bill, and thank you, Bill, for serving as our tech host today. He's pre-assigned everyone into a breakout room, 7 or 8 people, plus a moderator. But the question we're going to ask everyone to answer is, when did you first become aware of race? And now we're going into the breakout sessions. Let's hear everyone's thoughts on that. When did you first become aware of race?
Jake?
Thank you, everyone. Welcome back, and thank you, everyone, for sharing when you became aware of race. I thought before we go on to the panel, there may be some interesting ahas. And so I'm wondering if we might have 3 or 4 breakout room facilitators briefly share an aha or a special insight from their group discussion.
Kathy, could I ask Jan Hansen to unmute and share hers?
That would be great. Jan Hansen.
For this presentation too. And what I was sharing is, as I grew up, I lived in a segregated community and didn't realize that I did. In Edmonds, in the north part of Seattle, I only realized recently that there was redlining, and that the reason that there wasn't diversity where I worked, where I lived, where I went to school was that, and even now in our Rotary Club, the demographics are very Caucasian, and I think I see that as a problem if we're not working with people, if we're not, they're not in our faith communities, if they're not around us, how do we bring them into Rotary without just saying, okay, this is the token person or persons that we have here to make our club more diverse.
Thank you, Jan, for sharing your insight.
Yeah, this is David Della for Group 2. I want to ask Willie Poinsett to give us the aha. I think she gave a great insight of our discussion. Willie, you want to unmute and share your perspective?
My perspective as a child or my perspective as an adult? Which one do you want, David?
Well, you know what we talked about when we were talking about the aha. We talked about race as an issue.
Well, race, and well, one of the things I'm concerned about is people are a little reluctant to talk purely about race. We bring in religion, we bring in other things rather than talk about the race, and that race is a social construct. And it was, one person said in our group, it was done that way for a reason. And you do it to put some people down, and some people have advantages. And I referred to Caste. If you've read the book Caste, that's a very good book of letting you know what kind of system we have and what race means in this country.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is Skip Roland. I had Group 6, and I'm just going to repeat what I heard from Janice Weinmuller and then ask Janice if she would further comment. She says, love does not solve every problem. I think that's what Janice, would you like to further expound on that?
Well, unexpectedly, I guess I would say, when our son took on being a big brother to 3 young African-American brothers over a number of years, 4 or 5 years. Their father was in prison. We were connected to his mother. We loved the heck out of him. And I ultimately realized that, you know, love doesn't solve everything. It doesn't, we couldn't, you know, there wasn't, we weren't big enough. We needed more. They needed more. And that made me kind of understand what they're up against.
Thank you.
it's systemic. Yeah.
Mhm. Uh,
More.
this is George Northcroft. I'll give a quick overview, but if it's okay with JP, I'd like him also to say a few words. But we realized that all of us had a different point in time in our lifetime when we were aware of race. And some folks were not aware of it because of the history that was distorted in the United States. And when they became aware of what the reality, they became more committed to do something and make the world different going into the future. And that's what brings us together as Rotarian. But JP, you had a special story that I think resonated with all of us. I think it would be great if you share it with us. JP? Is he on mute?
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes.
All righty, George. I became really aware of my racism in the last summer when I started reading about it. I was in denial for all of my life, thinking, well, we're Americans. We've had a black president. Hallelujah. You know, we're all liberated. And that is far, far, far from the truth. And I recognize that I have a lot of subconsciously trained racist stuff inside of me, stuff I don't even know about yet, but I've uncovered quite a bit. And I just have to say, yeah, I'm racist. And I really only acknowledged that this last summer when I picked up a book. So it goes.
JP, we really want to thank you for sharing that with us. That for you to have the courage to share that means a lot. And it's gets to the heart of what we're trying to do as Rotarians. So thank you so much for having the confidence to share that.
Thank you, George.
Love you, brother.
Thank you, George, JP.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, for sharing. And hopefully it gave us, each of us, an opportunity to reflect on how we've interfaced with the issue of race and racism. The last section is to go back into small group discussions, and it will provide an opportunity to answer some questions, raise some questions, but also the intent is for everyone to identify what their takeaway is, what their next step is, what they'll take back to their club to advance DEI at the club level, wherever along that continuum your club is. Welcome back, everybody. We're right here in the closing part of our morning together. I'd like to give breakout groups, maybe 2 or 3, an invitation to share some of the next steps that we haven't heard about, maybe some new next steps that clubs are thinking about, ideas that were discussed in the small groups.
Kathy, I haven't had the opportunity to call upon my group earlier, so I'm going to ask Bill Dees to share with us. I haven't had the opportunity to ask you about the milkshake story, but at least you can tell us that's the next.
Yeah, next steps. Look, one of the things that happened after George Floyd was that one of our Rotarians, Al Jubitz, got really involved with wanting to do something to change the culture, especially in the way police are dealing with communities of color in Portland, Oregon, where there've been too much abuse, and especially with the protests that were happening. And so we have convened a volunteer group, mostly of Rotarians from not just the Portland Club, but from outlying areas all the way down to Ashland. We've been meeting every single Saturday, not every other week or once a month, every single Saturday for 10 months, taking a hard look at the culture of racism, the systemic racism, and what can be done about it. We've had speakers like the Attorney General of the state of Oregon, former governor of the state of Oregon, police chief of the city of Portland, legislators rewriting legislation to make the state of Oregon more fair and equitable, really looking at things through a diversity and equity and inclusion lens so that when we respond, we can do so effectively. From these major meetings that happen on Saturdays, we formed subgroups, action groups. For instance, there's a thing called Police to Peace that transforms the police culture from within, from a warrior mentality to a peacekeeper mentality. We have an action group now. It's established in Ashland. We're trying to move it throughout the state of Oregon. We have another action group taking a look at responses by mental health professionals to mental health crises without a police intervention. They're doing that in Eugene. It's called Cahoots. And so we're bringing that idea and helping that to nurture in Portland so that we can bring it to other cities in the state of Oregon. We don't have to have an armed police response to every homeless crisis, to every mental health crisis. We're learning that as we go, and we're finding that Cahoots, which has been around for 30 years, has been very effective. And we have a program now in Washington County that's a hybrid of what Cahoots does. They do have a police response, but they've done it in such a way where they've never used their weapon. Can you imagine a program where they go out on these crises and nobody gets shot? These are the kinds of things that we're doing in Portland. I welcome all of you to come down and take a look. Thank you.
Wonderful, Bill. We appreciate what you're doing. You've welcomed many of us from District 5030 to those Saturday sessions. I really commend them to my fellow Rotarians to participate.
Could you somehow put the link to both of those Saturday meetings somewhere today if people want to?
Yeah.
Thank you.
And one or two more examples that we haven't heard yet that could be possible next steps at the club level.
I got a couple interesting ideas to share. One, Carol Coram at Emerald City Club is focused on access for people who BIPOC communities and so on through educational outreach, and that's something I think that certainly Seattle 4 embraces, and I think many other clubs could get involved with partnering with local schools. So it might be good for us to know more about what Carol Coram and her team at Emerald City are doing. Virginia McKenzie is launching a new club based on a good 6-7 years work on sexual exploitation, rooted at Seattle Rotary, but now moving out into a launch of an international club. And this is a really timely subject that has global implications as well as impact for diverse communities. And the Vanderhoek gentlemen from the Bellevue Club are focused on how to help the entire club come along with the DEI core of 30. That we all face this. We have members in all of our clubs who are very resistant and struggling with the changes in our society. And so I think Bellevue Club is wrestling with this, and we should all be supporting them and helping and engaging and learning more as we help work with them. And finally, the Edmonds Club, Jan mentioned, is taking on the Asian community and support through a Lunar New Year program through their Arts Council. And, you know, the Asian communities seem to be overlooked frequently in our community. We can't afford to do that. So I thought those were all really good suggestions that everybody can benefit from.
Absolutely. Wonderful. Wonderful. Anything else we want to know about?
Hey, Kathy. Oh, go ahead, Skip.
Are you sure?
Yes, go for it.
Okay, thank you. I just had a aha moment. We had a comment from Bruce Poinsett, but I'm going to ask Bruce to allow me to be the chair and make a change. Stan Chrissy said aha moment for him, and I believe a next step would be, how do we get the Pledge of Allegiance that David Della mentioned and the national anthem, how do we get those back into the realm of respected activities from the podium of our floor? So if Stan is there, Stan, are you still with us? Would you talk for a moment about your aha moment? Thank you.
Thanks, Skip. No, I was just thinking that really, in many ways, the Pledge of Allegiance in the context of racial diversity is very apropos. It's not that it gives us the opportunity to reflect for the moment that we're not in a perfect union, but our work in diversity expansion can bring us closer to that. And so in the spirit of diversity, let us sing the national anthem, or let us pledge our allegiance to the United States. That pledge is one of betterment. It's not in any way avoidance or the thought that that our efforts to integrate our communities is outside the boundaries of the pledge.
Thank you, Stan, and thank you, Bruce, for allowing me to make this interjection. Kathy, if we have time to hear Bruce, fine. If not, I turn the floor back over to you. Thank you for everything.
Bruce, if it's quick, we'd love to hear you.
Okay, it'll be very quick.
Good, thank you.
Okay, so one of the things we focused on was discussion about education. How are we educating our young people? We have a club here in the Portland area that has a scholarship program, a 4-year scholarship program, and they included several years ago vocational education as a goal also for young people. Very important. The other thing was there was a quick discussion about the Rotary Dictionary program, and I understand there's a club up your way that basically has gone away from the dictionaries and gone into giving like Black history books to schools to put in their libraries to kind of further the educational process. That's my 2 quick comments.
Great, thank you. And thank you, Bruce, for joining us today. Anything else? All right, then hearing.
One comment.
Oh, thank you. Please, Rochelle.
Sure. Yeah, and this is in addition to the Pledge of Allegiance. This is from incoming District Governor Howard Cohen. You know, just being mindful of who's in the room. Not all of our members are American citizens. We do have international members, and Rotary is an international club. So whether or not we do the Pledge of Allegiance, if we do it, think about the other members in the club and give an opportunity for them to talk about their countries and their traditions and their flags. And then also, if it doesn't make sense for your club, all of our clubs are completely different. We all know what's best for our own club. Does it make sense to do something else, like saying the 4-way test or some other ritual for us to be grounded? That's it.
Great addition. Thank you. Thank you, Rochelle.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Kathy?
Nancy, hi.
Kathy. Yeah, hi. I would like to say that I would like to work on developing a mentoring program in our district. I feel that one-on-one, we can have a great deal of influence, and in the schools, or not only in the schools, but everywhere where people are feeling left out and need a guiding hand or someone who really cares about them, because no one else really does acknowledge them, or they aren't heard by anyone. So I would like to work on that in our district.
Good, thank you. I know there's some information in the district newsletter, and we'll continue to promote those opportunities to support mentoring, because I think one thing we've come away from appreciating today is we've got to reach out to youth and engage with youth if we're going to change attitudes and change hearts going forward on this issue and so much else. So thank you, Nancy. I appreciate you championing that. I'm going to ask our tech host, Bill McElroy, to post 2 poll questions. I'd like everybody's quick feedback on 2 questions. Bill, if you can tee up the poll questions, that would be great.
Can you see the poll? Okay.
Yep, we can see them. 2 questions. One, are these district-wide forums worthwhile? And should the district task force continue to organize them in the future? And then also, do you feel like you came away with some ideas, practical ideas that you can take back to your club based on today's conversations? Okay, and hopefully we'll get to see those results. The other thing is our District 5030 DEI task force has compiled a list of resources, and I've just posted it in the chat. There are a variety of additional materials and information, resources in general. It's on the district website, but a link to that is in the chat now. Bill has, oh good, we've got some results. Okay, appreciate everyone finding these broader forums valuable, and I'm particularly pleased that everyone feels, or most people feel, like they've come away with some practical next steps to take back to their club. So thank you for your feedback on that. Bill has recorded the sessions, the broad group sessions, and so that will be posted, the recording will be posted on our District 5030 YouTube channel probably within a week if you'd like to view it again or share it with fellow Rotarians who weren't able to join us today. And in closing, I'd like to thank the District 5030 task force, especially the members who helped arrange today's forum. George Northcroft, Tony Ives, David Della, David Woodward, Rochelle Bouchon, Jamel Idris, Skip Roland, Jessica Bouillon, Felicia Cross, and a special thanks again to immediate past District Governor Bill McElroy for your being our tech host today. And thank you all for joining us. We've got a lot of work to do, and I appreciate us forging ahead. So thank you for your commitment to this work, and look forward to seeing you soon, hopefully in person.
Thank you, Kathy.